Hey, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to say that this content was inspired by a snippet sent to me from another vlogger's live stream, and you can see the actual excerpt here.
Here's my view of Ned. Here's what I observe. I think Ned feels that he is something that a younger Filipino is attracted to. I genuinely think he believes that, but I think obviously it's more, from their point of view, it's more about being stable. But I think because of his ego, he doesn't see the picture for what it is. That's my observation. Well, you're frozen. You freeze. You still there? Oh, sorry guys. Looks like you froze.
Alrighty, aside from the size of my vaunted ego, the mysterious chipmunk Go-Go Bobo actually makes a good point. Are young, attractive Filipinas actually attracted to chubby and bald, late, middle-aged foreigners, or are they just looking for stability? And with that, my fellow dreamers, let's take a quick dip into the world behind the looking glass that is the Philippines. And in case you're wondering why I'm wearing sunglasses, the sun is right there and it's kind of blasting me in the eyeballs. Okay, so after you've been in the Philippines for a while, or simply researching the subject, you are invariably going to come across a few topics that are rather hot in the expat community. The first has to do with age-appropriate relationships, and the second has to do with Filipina scammers, gold diggers, and hustlers. So whether you are a crusading moral entrepreneur whose stomach rolls every time he sees a decrepit foreigner with a wife or girlfriend young enough to be his daughter or granddaughter, or someone who has simply concluded that every Filipina is out to separate foreigners from their hard-earned cash, the two topics always make for heated discussion. The arguments can get so nasty, in fact, that some forums and social media pages simply ban them from conversation. Since I am married to a Filipina young enough to be my daughter, I will try to err on the side of caution at this point and simply seek to address the second topic. That is, are all Filipinas real gold-digging hustlers? Or, to move it to a more positive and telling direction, do Filipinas really love the foreigners they are with? Okay, so before moving on, keep in mind a couple of things. The first, I am not a relationship expert, nor do I play one on TV. The second is, love can't be quantitatively objectified on any type of scale. And finally, the views here are simply my opinion based on the 6.5 years that I've spent here in the Philippines. All right, let's talk about real briefly, what Filipinas want in general. I have noted before, but it is worth repeating. Most Filipinas simply want to meet somebody nice, fall in love, get married, and have kids and a family of their own. That's pretty much it. Now, with that said, some personal background. In my 6.5 fun-filled years here in the Philippines, I have had 3 serious relationships with 3 wonderful Filipinas. Of those 3, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that at least 2 of those women really loved me. As for the third, well, the jury's still sort of out on that one, and at this point, it's probably going to return as a mistrial. Again, I have zero doubt that the feelings of those 2 ladies in particular were genuine. Now, you might be asking yourself, how can Ned be so sure of this? So absolutely convinced in his belief that these women really loved him? It's a fair enough question, and one that I will now seek to answer as half-baked as any rational response to an emotional state can be. There are all kinds of articles, books, documentaries on the matter of love. Tiger King's a recent example. Veritable boatloads of it, in fact. Relationships drive the social animal that is Homo sapiens, and one can quickly become overwhelmed with the amount of subject content that there is floating around out there. Some of it's spinning about like turds in a toilet bowl, a la MGTOW and these pickup artist guys. So in order to keep it as simple as possible following the KISS theory, I'm going to narrow it down to only 3 indicators to let you know if the partner you are with, in our case Filipinas, really do love us or not. because there's been a lot of speculation and arguments over the years. Also keep in mind that I'm applying a great deal of hindsight to this, looking back over the relationships that I have had in the Philippines, the months or years that I have spent with each woman. I would think, or at least hope, that this has provided me a more objective perspective of what was and wasn't real. But enough of that. Let's get down into the telling triad. First up is trust. As we all know or have heard, trust is pretty much the foundation of any true relationship. Without trust, you can't really love someone. You can be infatuated, you can be obsessed, but you really can't be in love. And that's coming from my personal experience, as I have been guilty of that as well. Trust is the proverbial keystone to any type of relationship, and without it, the relationship will wither like sad groinal grapes on the vine. Filipinas are notorious about trust issues, especially when it comes to foreigners, and oftentimes with damn good reason. All those darn chick boys are running around. Many relationships with Filipinas will start with a good amount of jealousy and insecurity, both of which don't do much in the way of developing trust. Over time, however, and as she comes to trust you through your actions, and you her, only then can a romantic relationship move on into real love. So, if she trusts you and you trust her, that's a great indicator that the love is real. And it's not too difficult, it's pretty easy at this point. If not, and she is constantly looking through your phone for secret Date in Asia accounts and Facebook messages, that's not a good sign. Keep in mind that this also applies to us guys. If you are searching her phone and tracking her whereabouts all the time, that's probably not real love. And again, mea culpa on that front. Also be advised that excessive jealousy can also arise through her own nefarious projections. She might be suspicious of your infidelity because there is something that she is doing herself. Alright, next up is priority. When two people are in love, they pretty much become each other's priority. We've all experienced this. They are crazy about each other and will pretty much do whatever it takes to spend time together. There is no hesitation or second thoughts or second guessing involved in this process. It simply is. Given time, the relationship and where it is going becomes the main priority. The majority of her time won't be spent hanging out with friends, partying, or hitting the clubs. It will be with you. Again, gauging whether or not you are the priority is something that will be seen through her actions, not words. This priority piece is also a pretty good indicator of how someone feels about you, as it isn't too difficult to quantize. And if she is making excuses or proffering the occasional white lie, see Trust, Part 1, you probably aren't the priority. But Ned, you might ask, what about her family always being the number one priority? Family is number one in the Philippines and tends to rank higher than God and country, at least in my humble opinion. That goes for her family and hopefully the family that you are creating together. Her folks will always be a major part of her life, but if it becomes a case of you simply being a monetary lifeline for her family, you probably aren't the real priority. Okay, let's get into the juicy bits. The third part of the telling triad is intimacy. Now that we've gotten trust and priority, bullshit, out of the way, let's talk about the last and juiciest bit of Ned's does she really love me triad. Intimacy. Being quasi or full-on cavemen, most guys will generally think this just has to do with sex, but it actually goes a wee bit deeper than that. If your gal is constantly hanging on you, holding your hand, pressing against you, grabbing you, initiating the dirty deed, and generally hovering about like a DJI Mavic Pro, she is most likely in love with you. I mean, think about it. Put some thought into this. If it was you, as the young Filipina, looking to run a long-con love scam on a wrinkly guy twice your age, would you be able to constantly initiate intimacy on any level? I mean, like for years? I think not. Okay, now let's get back to the mysterious chipmunk. As far as Go-Go Bobo noting that Filipinas are looking for stability, the rabid little rodent is on point. He's right. Filipinas are looking for stability. Indeed, this stability is what all women around the world are looking for when it comes to marriage and family. They need a good provider to bring home the meat and to fight for them tooth and nail. As noted previously, good Filipinas are pretty much looking for two things: marriage and a family. And to achieve those goals, they need stability of all kinds. Foreigners will often see this as just financial stability, but as most of us know, hopefully by this point, it also includes personal and emotional stability and everything in between. The bottom line is basically this. How someone treats you in your relationship through their actions is a hell of a lot more important than what they say. Pay attention to how you were treated rather than what your partner says. They might be saying they love you, but behaviors don't lie. Filipinas are notoriously quick to say, I love you. But those are only words. It's the intimacy, prioritization, and eventual trust that actually proves it. Now, for those happily in relationships with or married to wonderful Filipinas, you'll most likely agree with at least some of this. Again, I'm not a relational expert, and I'm basically just pulling this out of my ass. For those who don't, please feel free to leave your comments below, and I'm sure you will. So until next time, puppies, rainbows, and unicorns for all. And stay well and stay safe during this extended quarantine.
Hey, if you consider our work to be of any value, consider supporting us on Patreon. If you're a Patreon, you get a free copy of my ebook, and we do monthly Google Hangouts. So consider doing that, if you would please.